Cause the city's in eyes, and they will tell lies, and they will disguise to take your life. By the grace of the Most High, yes, they will do right. Ask for forgiveness and blessings flow. The spiritual aspect you can't find, no. Cause is a bit of my God, yes. Oh, get my way. I lay, yes. Protect way and keep way.
Integumenen's children, peace I bring to the eye body, guided by the angel of power. Peace I bring to the eye heart, guided by the angel of love. Peace I bring to the eye mind, guided by the angel of wise mind. Through the angels of power, love, and wise mind, I shall travel the 7 paths of the infinite garden, and I body, heart, and mind shall join in oneness in the sacred flight to the heavenly sea of peace. I have reached the inner vision through the eye spirit in I, O Integumenen and Rastafari. I hear the eye wondrous secrets. Through the eye mystic insight, the eyes cause the spring of knowledge to well up within I, a fountain of power, pouring living water, a flood of love, an all-embracing wise mind like the splendor of eternal light. In the reign of peace there is no hunger, thirst, or poverty. If there is no peace in the I soul, there is no place to build within the I whole temple. For how can a carpenter build in the midst of a whirlwind? The seed of violence can only reap the harvest of desolation. Seek the angel of peace, who is the morning star, the sun and the moon at their fullness, and as the sun shining on the temple of the Most High. The 7-fold of peace of Rastafari and Integuamenen be with I. Peace dwells in the hearts of silence. Be still and know Integuamenen and Rastafari, and let peace reign for I. Sila.
Worldwide peace, oneness.
Life, one love.
Yeah. Blessings flow.
I miss a let peace reign for all mankind. Man tired of the war and crime. Just like how God shine the sunshine, show love all the time, not only sometime. Yeah. Peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Give thanks for the air, the rain, the sunshine. Do good all the time, not only sometime. Give thanks for everything. I jar run the globe, govern it while it a spin. God alone, me praise from me heart deep within. No evil man can win, no way. Look, we're going in a Haiti. Don't even think for a second like Jah hate we. But when Jah right, him do it greatly. Good suffer for the bad down to the baby. No. Enough wickedness in the world. Them darken the future for the boys and the girls. But remember this, you can't replace love with diamonds and pearls. So let peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Just like how God shine the sunshine, show love all the time. So let peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Show love all the time. Too much evil in a mankind. Youths hungry, some are orphan. No for them no have no parents we call them. Little youth we ever skill go do a job, collect him money, next thing him judgment them better prepare. It hard for trust people. Them last days they look out for no fever. Yeah. Let peace reign for all mankind. Man tired of the war and crime. Just like how God shine the sunshine, show love all the time, not only sometime. Yeah. Let peace and love be the order of the day. Let peace reign. Do good deeds. Youths never you lose your way. Let peace reign. I wanna see a brighter day. I wanna see a better way. Yeah, a better way. And me say let peace reign for all mankind. Man tired of the war and crime. Just like how God shine the sunshine, show love all the time, not only sometime. You peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Give thanks for the air, the rain, the sunshine. Do good all the time, not only sometime. So let peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Just like how God shine the sunshine, show love all the time. So let peace reign for all mankind. We tired of the war and crime. Show love all the time. Too much evil in a mankind. Peace reign for all mankind. Show love all the time, not only sometime. Let peace reign. Peace reign for all mankind. Let peace reign.
Never mix words and actions with a bad temper or a bad mood, because there are many options to change the mood and calm the temper, but there are not any options to change the spoken word and the action taken in a temper. I and I are in this world for a greater reason, but the wicked design a system to keep people down. They impose poverty to displace and turn families against each other and glorify evil like it was something good. They make guns, coke and crack to imprison the mind in a false security to become the enemy of self and the community. They make it easy to acquire their destructive weapons and make it harder to acquire education for independence. Why kill for a postcode that is not yours, as they sit in their parliaments and their big houses and laugh? Lose not the eye soul for a system that is set like concrete to use people and care less for their well-being. No one was born to kill. Everyone has a talent. Believe in self and liberate the mind. One day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second shall come again in life. Do not deprive someone of having the choice of that day and time by taking their life. Anger, greed, ego, hate, vengeance and violence, avoid them like the plague. Leave what does not belong to you. Poverty and hunger are deliberately set to destroy the dignity of people and turn them against each other. Let the street code be life and respect forever. There is no greater wealth than peace of mind. It is hard in the ghetto, but the taking of life is not the solution. The greatest people come from the ghetto. It's a place that needs economic growth, not a burial ground. The ghetto is filled with powerful and great people. That is why they are deprived of the basic human rights of food, clothes and shelter. The system is frightened of the greatness of the people in the ghetto. Prince and princesses, kings and empresses shall come out of the ghetto. How great are Rastafari and Earth Mother, who made the mountains, the ocean, the springs, the galaxies, and looked at the eye and said, the earth needs the eye for a perfect balance, peace. Choose wisely, for there are a million words with a million thoughts, a million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. Sila.
Spain town, Trench town, Red town, Jonestown, Lindsay town. This one is a mystery how we escape this. Put up your lights, I give you breathe this. Put up your lights, I give you breathe this. No. A million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. No, a million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. Yes, I'm from way down in the dungeon, where the youth them no afraid fi bust the gun them. I them no care if a night or if a sun then. I when them bust it all over man a run then. I them ya youth are no afraid fi pop it up. I ya tell you your life them like it have. And if you disrespect and give them tough talk, them kill you in a rose down can back up and instead. A million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. No, a million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. I remember me first one pop. Have it strap and have it brace Bangkok. And I say me I go run in pan a shop. Me hear a voice shout out, no do that now. Time tough but me nah make it bother me. Nah worry about till it goes salary. This is the most designed to keep the poor man in a poverty. Yeah. So, a million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. No, a million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. I'm afraid of the system set. All I hear is Mach 90 and Intratech. Laser beam with the light and them not shoot for miss. And I tell me say them something will shine and crisp. Are you with the Glock in your waist? No point, no triangle in your face. Yes, most days are saving grace. Yes. I said the wicked man straight to them place. A million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. No, a million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. A million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million ways to get caught. A million words with a million thoughts. A million ways to escape, but a million.
Here I and I call, O Rastafari and Integre Menin of I and I righteousness. The eyes enlarged I and I when I and I were in distress. Have mercy upon I and I, O Saint Mariam, and hear I and I prayer. How long shall the wicked turn I and I glory into shame? How long shall they love vanity and seek after evil? But know that El Shaddai and Integre Menin has set apart I and I that are righteous for themselves. They shall hear when I and I call. Let I and I stand in joy and sin not. I and I shall commune with I and I own heart upon I and I bed, and be still in meditation, Selah. I and I shall praise and work in righteousness, and put I and I trust in the Most High, Rastafari, and Integre Menin. The eyes put gladness in I and I heart, more than the time that their wine and their corners increased. I and I lay down and rest in peace, in the peace of the night, and rise with the dawning of the morning. For Rastafari, Earth Mother, and Integre Menin, make I and I dwell in safety. I and I are confident in the victory of good over evil. Give thanks for the I guidance and protection. In I and I rest, with the quiet, healing, renewing of mind and body. I and I shall stay far from the enemies, for they shall soon fade away as smoke is driven and as wax melt before the fire. Selah.
Hey, yo, man.
Yo, Sasko.
We're rolling this down.
When I see my friends become my enemy,
What them do?
I have to far.
No one near them will not go.
No link, no part.
Cut them out.
Cause I know dirty heart can't sweep with broom. They are like the trees we can't bloom, and they shall slowly fade away. And I know dirty heart can't wash with soap. The meditation is sublime proof, and they shall slowly fade away.
Well, I'm an answer, we no domain. Enough of them now go like that, showing you why. Bad man stuck in a them head like a tumor. Them bird like tree stripe, one a night made by Puma. Them tell believe police, not only by rumor. Start go, you not to them, I say you got back home. Get the visa, you fly out them, I pray for you drop out them. Sit down and calculate why in and you back out them. Say them are your friend, but them heart warm about your men say.
Well, dirty heart can't sweep with broom.
Good and never.
They are like the trees we can't bloom.
Good and never.
They shall surely fade away. And I know dirty heart can't wash with soap, and there is no bad mind antidote. They shall slowly fade away. Then look along, we tell them say we stop fight. Can't son in it enough of them a come and act like them are your brother, all them good for it backbite. Watch them kill it pretty soon them a go. Go show them colors like a stoplight. Them
colder than a brass fight. Them hearts are dirty, man, discover with a Scotch Brite. Them need a whole reservoir of jelly water to wash off them heart. That could hold in on the back pan at the standby.
Find out dirty heart can't sweep with broom.
Good and never.
They are like the trees we can't bloom.
Good and never.
They shall surely fade away. And I know dirty heart can't wash with soap. The meditation is sublime proof, and they shall slowly fade away.
Well, Granny tell me, friend, don't trip. So from the other day you see, friend, we don't keep a family we say because and everything we come and show teeth and your friend. First, if you're making money, all leave enough. Last them raised like the sheep, back a nickel more peep. Watch them killing evil queen. Don't sleep, cause when you out the sleep, you won't sleep.
Fade away. Then look along, we tell them say we stop fight. Can't son in it enough of them a come and act like them are your brother, all them good for it backbite. Watch them kill it pretty soon them a go. Go show them colors like a stoplight. Them
colder than a brass fight. Them hearts are dirty, man, discover with a Scotch Brite. Them need a whole reservoir of jelly water to wash off them heart. That could hold in on the back pan at the standby.
Find out dirty heart can't sweep with broom.
Good and never.
They are like the trees we can't bloom.
Good and never.
They shall surely fade away. And I know dirty heart can't wash with soap. The meditation is sublime proof, and they shall slowly fade away.
Well, Granny tell me, friend, don't trip. So from the other day you see, friend, we don't keep a family we say because and everything we come and show teeth and your friend. First, if you're making money, all leave enough. Last them raised like the sheep, back a nickel more peep. Watch them killing evil queen. Don't sleep, cause when you out the sleep, you won't see it. Boy, 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 boy,
boy. When I call you friend, I see you as my brother.
They man.
I just stay far. No link, no bar, no link, no bar.
When your friends turn the enemy apart, so.
Me say no link, no bar. It don't gone too far. Oh, me and me brother, we go war.
Come on, brother. I won't bury you. The Almighty also with different gods, so me understand. Hear me now? No fear, friend. I don't want to talk, man. I don't want to say Nico. Hey, follow me now.
Praise Rastafari and Integrum Menin in the Eye Holiness. Praise His and Her Imperial Majesty in the firmament of the Eye Power. They never get weary. Praise His and Her Imperial Majesty for their mighty acts according to their excellent greatness. Praise His and Her Imperial Majesty with the sound of instruments and dancing gladness, with sweet sounds and the sweet smells of incense. I praise the I spirit of overstanding and the spirit of wise mind. I praise Mother Isis for the spirit of knowledge, Saint Mariam for the spirit of courage and mercy, Integrum Menin for the spirit of peace, reverence and hope. I praise Mother Earth for strength. I praise the I, O Integrum Menin, Mother of strength and love, and power of the Trinity, Haile Selassie first. Let everything that has breath gather around and praise Saint Mariam, Mother Isis, Integrum Menin, Rastafari and Earth Mother in Ainity. Praise be the I names. Sila.
And the least little thing you say to them, they'll screw up them face, but sure, I'm a kill for that, you know. No, not even prayer, them must say that, you know. Every day they dream from the jailhouse and all them kind of thing there. And that can't help the situation. You can't help it, you know, Rasta. It's good to rise up early in the morning. Give thanks and praise to the King of Kings. Oh, yeah. It's good for us to rise up early in the morning. Give thanks and praises to the King of Kings. What's up in front? Gather round and let us praise Him. Come, let us gather round and let us praise Him. Sing it together. Gather round and let us praise Him. The birds and the beasts and flowers give Jah His full thanks and praise too. So why can man fall down and adore Him and count your blessing that you have got? Why can't we gather round and let us praise Him? Sing it together. Gather round and let us praise Him. Chant it up forever. Gather round and let us praise Him. Them lie, them thief, them destruct, them rape. And all them to do, why can't we gather round and let us praise Him? Why can't gather round and let us praise Him forever. Gather round and let us praise Him powerful. Gather round and let us praise Him. The beautiful waters from the mountains flow down between our bodies. The beautiful birds on the faces singing their full dance and praise like so. Gather round and let us praise Him. Why can't we gather round and let us praise Him? Rastaman, gather round and let us praise Him.
Almighty Rastafari and Integrum Menin, give thanks for life. Please protect I and I, especially on this rough journey. Give thanks for giving I and I free will, so I and I can make conscious decisions. I and I choose to trust the I, Almighty El Shaddai and Integrum Menin. Let the spirit of negativity, doubt and confusion depart from I and I minds. Please continue to show I and I how great the I created I and I. The heathens are trying to test I and I faith, to make I and I feel lonely and weary. Give thanks for meeting all I and I needs today with the strength and protection in all I and I doings. The I-loving arms are wrapped around the broken-hearted, the depressed, and those that are feeling like there is no hope, and free their minds as it's not always going to be like this. Let every negative stronghold over I and I life be broken. Give thanks for the I comfort in times of distress, pain and sorrow. I and I heart is filled with the I loving kindness and joy. Guide and strengthen I and I decisions, response, efforts and conversations. I and I have the I glory. I and I shall declare the decree that the I have bestowed upon I and I, the receiving of healing, deliverance from the hands of the wicked and evil ones, and the restoration over I and I life. I and I body shall be stronger and healthier. I and I faith deeper, and I and I shall be more creative, empowered with wise mind beyond measure. The spirit of the Most High, O Haile Selassie first, and Integrum Menin, dwells within I and I. I and I rise up with the dawning of the new day, with purpose, direction, and meaning. I and I shall do the best in everything, and work towards making this world a better place. For iron sharpeneth iron, and I shall be unified in the victory of good over evil. Selah.
When you're gonna dig up Peter, tell my brother, hey, don't dig what always dig to. Be careful of the things you do, the everyday words you speak. You walk on the streets, you run up your mouth. You want to see your brother be a prisoner, always never mind. The countenance of one man brighteneth another. Iron sharpeneth iron. The countenance of one man brighteneth another. Iron sharpeneth iron. See, la 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 la. Do ba ba dee. La 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 la. Do ba ba. careful of the things you do. The everyday words you speak. You walk on the streets, you run up your mouth. You want to see your brother be a prisoner always. Never mind the countenance of one man bright.
with Praise Him song, Culture, from his album Culture in Culture. Now I seal up Psalms and Songs with Jah Rastafari Culture, taken from their album International Herb. Just before I seal up Psalms and Songs, sending out love to Higgy, Sister Joanne and Mas Baptist, love and strength to the eye, and giving thanks to DJ Cowboy. More love, my brethren. He's with I on the night shift with sweet music every Sunday from 12 to the breaking of fast, and strong days for breakfast from 8 till 10. Ireful greetings, Rasta Queen, love and respect. Appreciate love, right, my sister? Lady M, Majestic Lady, Sister Aretha, missing the I My Root sisters. Guidance to Sister Angela in Reading. Jackie, Danny in Little Dread. Appreciate love the knowledge, right? Guidance in the New Strong. Otis, my drummer, Princess Nins, Princess Han. Give thanks every time, my darlings, for the strength that the I give to make serious reasoning always ready, right? Princess B, Fireman, keep rising to the top. Sister Lazalu, hope all is well. Guidance in a New Strong to Selector G, Rankin D, Go Ballet I, Patrick D, Sister Rosebud, Sister Monica Sinclair. Looking forward, right? John with I every Saturday morning opening the musical gate. Hope Sister B and Marity and TJ are all well. Minister Collins, greetings. Mikey Dread, Channel 1 Sound System in session every Tuesday from 6 to 8. One Love, Ireful greetings, Freddie Melody, Rastolis, Bellyful, DJ One, Juicy Roots family, Kevin and Jimmy, Tottenham Town Bakery, Lloyd and Sister Maureen, and all I business places, Father Ted and Shawnee Ranks, Isaac Natural, the General Flip, Father Fat, Father Ted and remembering Father B, Sister B, Lady Ital and her princess, Uncle Vincent and family, Aunt, Pops, Mike, Fuddy, Blacks, Just Shepherd, Tuffy Irie, Uriah, Nash, Steve, Sister Nafia and her family, Sister Maureen and Sister Merlin, Mama Alice, Mama Alma, Mama Eva, Mama Cynthia, Mrs. Bonner, Auntie Jean, and love to Barry Dread and Sister Abiola, thinking of the eye, and sending out love and healing strength and guidance to all the families who have taken the vaccine and are now sick with a stroke-like symptoms, especially the 19-year-old princess. And sending earth strong greetings, Sister Mavis Sister Mavis Aldred, Sister Sweet Cherry Pie, African Simba, hope that I are full joy in the I, Earth Strong, Iowa, more love, and remembering Sister Naphtali, Sister Tendai, and Sister Dawn, the great artist. One Love Family, Jah Rastafari, the mighty culture from his album International Herb.
IYATA, Jah daughter from Ethiopian border, I come.
Too long in our little ghetto. Wrong's been going on, let's protest. Children of Israel who really love rights. For just a time as a watchman around Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel. I should never hold thy peace. Day or night. We should have bust down Babylon walls. Prepare ye the way. Prepare ye the way for your people. Fight down war and crime. Fight down war and crime. Rasta fight down war and crime. And build up righteousness. You know Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. Oh yeah. Just a turn as a watchman around the Babylonian doors. Rasta sing it all, children of Israel. I should never hold thy peace while we are penalized day or night. We should have bust down Babylon doors. Prepare ye the way. Prepare ye the way for your people. Fight down war and crime. Fight down war and crime. Rasta fight down war and crime. And build up righteousness. You know Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. You live now, Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. From the King of Kings. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari.
Sister IYATA, she and the daughter, we're hunting Rastafari hard.
Family, time now for Majesty's speech. Haile Selassie first speaks on working together, and I quote, "Although great effort has been exerted by our government by way of planning and formulating the ways and means of eradicating community problems, it is not sufficient for the people to rely on the government's support alone. This has already been manifested by your endeavours as the people themselves come to realize their own difficulties in the development of their community and try to solve them by collective participation, following an order of priority and taking their potential into account. It is well known to all that recognizing one's problems and striving hard to challenge them is a mark of self-sufficiency. A country belongs to both leaders and people. The mutual cooperation between them is the testimony to this fact. Unless the people help us, our attempt to help them will be fruitless. Why did we become leaders? It is for the benefit and the welfare of the people. This year more than ever, the Ethiopian people have motivated themselves by their own will and diligence, and they have taken the task of raising their living standard. They have engaged in raising funds to either construct roads or to use it for whatever projects they have in mind. How noble and great a deed is the act of sacrificing one's wealth, land and money to one's needy community instead of for selfish purposes. This gratitude remains forever. Work and wealth are at your disposal. Activity and helping each other in unity are of the most importance to you all. Allah preserve and guide all that has been accomplished and all the words we have said. Sila, His Imperial Majesty speaks on working together.
And I must prosper that love Jah. Love be within thy walls and prosperity within thy policies. For I, brethren, thy companions say, I will now say, love be within thee. Because of the house of the living I, Jah, Rastafari, and I will now seek I good forever.
If them want to win the revolution, they have to win it with Rasta. You can't win no other way. Because if you win other way, you have to fight again. When you Rasta win, there's no more war.
Yes, Africa stretch forth her hands and give thanks for the deliverance of a man who stands firm in his own countenance. Oh, I descended upon the mountain of Zion. I saw is the lion. The world shall know. So great is him, I know how great is the King of all kings, yes. So great is him, I know great is the King of all kings, yes. Giver of life, for black, for white, for red, green, and gold. Ethiopia stands bold, while Marcus I prophecy is unfold. Yes, never you wait, for the time is now. Can't wait till judgment come. Tomorrow never forward. Tomorrow never forward. No, 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 no. In my Father's house there are many mansions, and if it wasn't so, then I wouldn't say so. No, 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 no. Yes, the Father is the King of all kings, who lives and reigns forevermore. So great is him, I know. Great is the King of all kings, yes. So great is him, I know. Great is the King of all kings. As I rise, give thanks to the sun. And oh, if it's raining, I say, Jah, well done. Oh, feeling such sweet aroma, approaching my veranda. Yes, say life is so great to me now. I still line up, worrying our fruit. And I no need no bulletproof verse. I guess the most I is our strength and fortress. Give thanks nevertheless, no, no. In my Father's house there are many mansions, and if it wasn't so, then
I wouldn't say so, no, 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 no. Safari is the king of all kings, who lives and reigns forevermore. So great is him, I know. Great is the king of all kings, yes. So great is him, I know. Great is the king of all kings, yes. I say who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty and shall never be moved. No, yeah. I is the giver of life, and he's the light of the world. Oh, ho, 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 yes. Cause in my father's house there are many mansions, whoa, 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 whoa. And if it wasn't so, I wouldn't say so, no, no. So great is him, I know. Great is the king of all kings, yes. So great is him, I know. Great is the king of all kings, yes. Africa stretch forth your hands and give thanks for the deliverance of a man who stands firm in his countenance. I guess I listen, that's the guy the first. I lift up, yes, I know where life works. Yes, I from afar.
Irie for Love family, hope that I are having a good day. Time now to seal up the Wednesday praises for Saint Mariam, reading from her book, Saint Mariam the Perpetual Virgin and her mother Hannah, looted from Magdala, Ethiopia by General Napier in 1868, found in the British Library, Windsor Castle, Museum of Mankind, India House, Oxford and Eton University, in the Ethiopian collection. Saint Mariam of Zion Church is in Aksum, Ethiopia. Saint Mariam and her mother are honoured and prayed to by the Orthodox churches worldwide. Seymour MacLean liberated this book from the British Library. He is known as the Book Liberator. And I quote, "She is Jerusalem, city of Shalem, some say Jerusalem, the city of the prophets, and she's a habitation of joy of the saints, on the people who sit in darkness in the shadow of death, as a great light risen. Ayasu Christ the Nazarene, who in his holiness became incarnate in Saint Mariam's womb, for I and I salvation. Look upon this marvelous thing, and sing this song, because of the mystery that has been revealed unto I and I. For he who was became man, the word mingled with I and I nature. He who had no beginning assumed a beginning for himself. He who had no days reckoned to himself days, and he who was not known is revealed, and he who was invisible showed himself. The Father, who is now the Son, because of his birth, is the living Amlak. He is the man indeed. Ayasu Christ the Nazarene, yesterday and forevermore, one nature, Hebrews 8. To him I and I honour and praise. Ezekiel the prophet testified concerning Saint Mariam, saying, I saw seated a door in the east, sealed with a great and wonderful seal, and no one except the Most High himself of the mighty ones had gone through it. He went in and he came out. Ezekiel 43 verse 4, Ezekiel 44 verse 1 to 2. The door is Saint Mariam the Virgin, who gave birth to I and I, Redeemer, and remained a virgin. Honoured is the fruit of the I womb, O holy bearer of Iasu Christ the Nazarene, who delivered I and I out of the hands of the enemy, who is merciless. Complete is the I, and praised is the I, O Saint Mariam, who has found grace with the King of glory, the Almighty, in truth. Majesty and glory belong to the I, more than to all those who dwell upon Mother Earth. The word of the Father came incarnate of the I, O Saint Mariam, and he walks with I and I. He is compassionate and a lover of his people. He saved I and I's souls by his holy birth. Selah. Sealing up St. Mariam's praises is Zion Gate, Culture, taken from their album Stronger Than Before. Sending this one out to all slrradio.co.uk family. More love, strength, guidance and protection to the I, as I and I salute Joseph Hill the Great, I and I tutor, Selah.
When the sons and daughters look around and see the wondrous thing that Jah done around, the birds and the puppies in a cool place of rest, and even the waters flow, and the shining rainbow beyond the frosty clouds. Nothing is wrong that Jah made. Everything is perfect, and He leads the way all day. Jah is all I need to make everything that's going like you read. Jah alone can give us satisfaction. Fill our heart with love. Jah alone can give us satisfaction. Fill our heart with love. Jah know it's true. Jah alone can give us satisfaction to satisfy my soul.
New Cross Fire of 1981.
This is the story of the New Cross house fire. On Friday, 17th of January 1981, two girls, Yvonne Ruddock and Angela Jackson, were having a joint 16th birthday party at Yvonne's house at 439 New Cross Road. Many of the girls' friends turned up at this party, and there were said to be over 100 young people, including Yvonne's brother, Paul, and his friends. The party was such a success that it went on until the early hours of the morning of Saturday, the 18th of January 1981. Sometime in those early hours, the party unfortunately turned deadly as a fire broke out, trapping some of the young men and women in the house. Angela managed to survive the fire because she left the party early. However, Yvonne was badly injured in the fire and she was rushed off to hospital, but died on the 24th of January 1981 of the injuries she sustained in the fire. Paul, her brother, also sadly died in the fire. The fire costed the lives of 13 young people, age ranging between 14 and 22. A survivor of the fire, Anthony Burbeck, traumatized by seeing his friends die in the fire, committed suicide on the 9th of July 1983 by jumping from the balcony of a council flat in South London, bringing the total death to 14. There was a lot of racial tension in the area where the party took place. The far-right white supremacist group, the National Front, were very active in this area. The police initially echoed the black community's sentiment by believing that the fire was started deliberately. The police received a complaint about the noise coming from the house and initially thought that someone threw a firebomb into the house in revenge for the loud music. Angela, the surviving birthday girl, said that her and 5 others saw a white car fitting the description of a white Austin princess parked outside of the house and then subsequently driving away as soon as the fire started. The police put out a search for this car. However, after studying scientific evidence, the police concluded that the fire started inside the house after a group of boys started fighting. This was backed up by testimonies of 8 boys who were at the party. However, the local community believed that the fire was a racist attack and were hurt by the conclusion of the investigation, the public's indifference, and the media's biases. 25th of January 1981, 1 week after the fire, a meeting took place at the Moonshot Club in New Cross, followed by a march to the scene of the fire, with more than 2,000 people in attendance. The New Cross Massacre Action Committee was set up and was chaired by John LaRose, who was a political, cultural activist and poet who established New Beacon Books, the first Caribbean publishing company in Britain. The meetings were held every week and gained a massive attendance as more and more people from the community were angered by the conclusion from the investigation. The Action Committee organised a Black People's Day of Action on the 2nd of March with 20,000 people in attendance, marching from Fordham Park to Hyde Park, carrying placards with slogans such as 13 dead and nothing said, and no police cover-up. Though a peaceful protest, the Sun newspaper reported the march with the headline, "The Day the Blacks Run Riot in London." Riots occurred in Brixton and across the country as many in the community were outraged by the outcome. These headlines fueled further hostility between the black and white communities. May 1981, 3 months after the fire, an inquest took place at County Hall. Typically, an inquest for a case of this magnitude should have been called at least after 2 years. Helen Shaw, from the pressure group inquest stated that she believed that the authorities just wanted to hurry things up so the whole issue could be shut away and forgotten about. Dr. Arthur Gordon Davies, the person in charge of the inquest, was the most experienced coroner in the country, summed up to the jury that a fight had broken out at the party, even though everyone who made a statement supporting that theory retracted it. In fact, Robert Mackenzie, one of the boys, who was called in to be questioned, stated that the police refused to listen to him when he told them that there wasn't a fight at the party, and he felt that he had to just go along with their version of the events because the police already made up their minds about what happened. Dr. Davies stated that there were no evidence to suggest that the police coerced the young men to say things, and the pressures the boys felt came directly from external forces. The jury returned with an open verdict, which angered the families bereaved by the fire. Over 20 years after the fire, a second inquest was held in 2004. Police officers who were involved in the second inquest ruled out the idea that a fight broke out at the party and the belief that the attack came from an outside person. DS Mike Parks stated forensic science pinpointed that the armchair in the front room was the location of the fire, and it broke out at 5:40 a.m. Like the first inquest, the verdict in the second came back open. Recording artist and poet Linton Kwesi Johnson, one of the founding members of the New Cross Massacre Action Committee, stated in 2001 that he remained very sceptical about the Met's new investigation, and the Met is still refusing to investigate whether it was a firebomb thrown in a racist attack. The families who lost their loved ones in the fire have now accepted that the fire was started by someone inside the house. However, due to the nature of the investigation, there will always be doubts about the police's version of events. As of 2011, the investigation remains open with no new leads. Valentina Francis, the mother of the DJ at the party, Jerry Francis, who died in the fire, said, "I'll never give up. I love my son far too much. I don't think I can die before I find out what really happened to him." The deaths of these young people were commemorated in various reggae songs and poems, including Johnny Osborne's 13 Dead and Nothing Said, and Benjamin Zephaniah's 13 Dead. The victims were also commemorated in January 2011 with a blue plaque from Nubian Jack Community Trust. In 2012, a stone memorial in Fordham Park, Deptford, was installed, listing those who died. Facing the stone memorial is a bench with a memorial inscription. Thank you for listening. This has been The Unreported.
We will not forget. We must not forget. 13 dead and nothing said. We will not forget. We must not forget. No, we cannot forget. 13 dead and nothing said. We will not forget. Fire, fire, burn young ones in a London City New Cross. How can there be justice when the bombers are the boss? 13 young lives faced it, their practice way of life. And if you walk the streets, them want to stab you with a knife. We will not forget, no, we must not forget. 13 dead and nothing said, we will not forget. We must not forget, no, we cannot forget. 13 dead and nothing said, we will not forget. Them have no right to bomb us, them have no right at all. as fire burning New Cross, politicians have a ball. Black people will stand firm until the table turn. Black people will stand firm against the ugly fascist worm. It's plain and clear to see, it's true reality. You cannot live in fear at night and think that you are free. And we all know it's true. What do authorities do? Them don't do nothing, them don't care, they are bombers too. And we will not forget, no, we must not forget. 13 dead and nothing said, we will not forget. We must not forget, no, we cannot forget. 13 dead and nothing said, we will not forget. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget.
Benjamin Zephaniah, 13 dead. Can the government force you to take a vaccine?
Can the government force you? In this video, we'll be discussing whether there's ever been compulsory vaccination in the UK. Spoiler alert, there has. Whether the current law allows for compulsory vaccination, and whether Parliament could introduce new legislation to compel vaccinations. Whether there's any truth in the rumour that the government could use the Mental Health Act to section people who refuse to have the vaccine, and what the position is in the United States of America. Just by way of comparison. Let's start with some history. We have had compulsory vaccination in the UK. The Vaccination Act 1853 compelled parents of children to allow their children to be vaccinated against smallpox, and any parent who refused to comply was fined the grand sum of £1. But that was repealed a long time ago. The current law is that an individual has to give consent for any vaccination. And if they don't give consent, then it's a criminal offence to vaccinate them, because you're pushing something, inserting something against their will into their body. It's a criminal offence technically called battery. It's more commonly known as assault. And it's an offence for which a medical practitioner could be fined, could be sent to prison, and would certainly be regarded as having conducted a major breach of their professional medical ethics. Now, in the UK, you simply cannot be forcibly vaccinated. Everyone has to give consent, or if they're a child, the parent has to consent, or if they're not medically fit to consent, perhaps because of mental health issues, and they're not what's called Gillick competent, then the person who takes decisions on their behalf has to give consent. There's no system here of implied consent as there is in other countries. So, for example, if you send your child to school on immunisation day, the fact you've sent your child to school doesn't amount to implied consent, and they can't be inoculated just because you've sent them to school. Their presence doesn't create implied consent. You, as the parent, have to actively consent in that situation. Now, Part 2A of the Public Health Control of Disease Act 1984, bit of a mouthful, and also the Coronavirus Act 2020 provides the framework for the government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Sections 45B and 45C of the Public Health Control of Disease Act 1984 grant ministers the power to make regulations for the purposes of preventing, protecting against, controlling or providing a public health response to the incidence or spread of infection or contamination in England and Wales. The Coronavirus Act 2020, Schedules 18 and 19, give similar powers to the Northern Ireland Department of Health and to the Scottish ministers to pass regulations to manage the spread of coronavirus. However, neither the Coronavirus Act 2020 nor the 1984 Act give ministers the power to compel vaccinations. Indeed, Section 45E of the 1984 Act and Schedules 18 and 19 of the Coronavirus Act specifically prohibit provisions requiring medical treatment, including vaccinations or other prophylactic treatment. And the Coronavirus Act 2020, which extends these powers to Northern Ireland and Scotland, contains similar prohibitions on ministers compelling vaccination. The ministers, the government, just don't have the power to do it. A policy of compulsory vaccination would therefore require new primary legislation, and I'm going to come in just a second as to whether that is likely. Matt Hancock, the Secretary of State for Health, has said in public that the government is not considering making vaccinations compulsory. There are possibly international constraints. Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights says that the government, the state, has to have respect for a person's private life, which of course includes the integrity of their body and not being subjected to medical treatment against their will. Now, there's academic argument each way on whether one of the exceptions to Article 8 would allow a government to compel vaccinations. But it's a rather sterile argument because it's not going to happen. The government's been very clear it's not going to introduce mandatory legislation. The government doesn't have the power to compel vaccinations under the current legislation, and the matter really ends there. It would be political suicide for any government to mandate vaccination when such a policy would be incredibly unpopular, would simply not get the support of backbench MPs, and would be open to all sorts of legal challenges. I do want to address a false rumour that's floating around. There's a rumour floating around all over Facebook. Here's an example. That the government is planning to use the Mental Health Act 1983 to section people who refuse to have the vaccine and detain them on the basis that they're not mentally competent. Now, this is not the case. The document in question that suggested that as a possibility was not written by the government. This document was written as evidence provided by a group of academics from the University of Oxford and the University of York, academics who are experts in medical ethics, law and philosophy, and they were giving evidence to a parliamentary committee about possible responses to the national coronavirus pandemic. It was evidence submitted to the committee. It has never been adopted as government policy. Let's just look, though, at whether the Mental Health Act even allows that. Section 3.2c of the Mental Health Act 1983 permits the detention of an individual in hospital for treatment, provided that it is necessary for the health or safety of the patient or for the protection of other persons that he should receive such treatment, and it cannot be provided unless he is detained under this section. Now, if someone's been detained under the Mental Health Act, under Section 63, their consent shall not be required for any medical treatment given to him for the mental disorder from which he's suffering. I'll say those words again, for the mental disorder from which he is suffering. So if someone is suffering from schizophrenia or depression or some other psychological or psychiatric condition, the coronavirus vaccine will not be treatment for that schizophrenia or for that depression or for that other psychiatric condition. So it cannot be given for the condition for which they've been detained. So the rumour floating around on Facebook that the government is considering compulsory vaccinations for people who have been sectioned under the Mental Health Act is absolute nonsense. It came from a document provided by academics and is not and has never been government policy. Let's contrast the position in the UK, where it's totally unlawful to compulsorily vaccinate somebody, with the position in the US, where the law is actually quite different. Compulsory vaccination is lawful in the US. In a landmark case well over 100 years ago, a case called Jacobson against Massachusetts, the US Supreme Court enforced a law brought in by the state of Massachusetts that all citizens in the town of Cambridge, Massachusetts, had to have a compulsory smallpox vaccination or face a $5 fine. Fast forwarding 100 years, it's actually now common practice in many of the states of the United States for children to be required to have and prove they've had their normal childhood vaccinations before they're allowed to enter the public school system. although some states do allow parents to object on religious or similar grounds. Some states are very likely to introduce mandatory vaccination for coronavirus, and Texas, for example, has already said it's going to do so. But that's the US. The UK does not have the ability for the government or the state to compel mandatory vaccination. So, to come back to UK law, there is just no power. Any doctor, any medical technician who injects somebody with a COVID vaccination against their will without their full and informed consent is, as I said, committing an assault, liable in a claim for damages, committing a criminal offence, and also committing a gross breach of medical ethics for which they could quite possibly and quite probably be struck off. To compel vaccinations, the government would have to get a bill through the House of Commons, the House of Lords, and get royal assent. And that's just not going to happen.
Jaja see them a come, the mighty culture. Zambian president refused vaccine.
Zambia must not inject any vaccine in any Zambian body before strenuous verification and validation is done to this vaccine. No injection should be inserted into a body of any Zambian. We must declare that the vaccine is unsafe until it is scientifically proved to be safe. Not by the Americans, like I said, not by the Russians, not by the Europeans, but declared safe by our own scientists and our own doctors. I heard somebody say, where are we going to get scientists and doctors? Well, if you can't verify what is given to you by your own people, then I suggest that you don't get involved in touching things that are made by others, because then you can be poisoned and we can all die like fools, like Martin Luther King Jr. said. If we are ignorant and we don't want to verify what we eat and what we inject in our bodies or ingest in our bodies, then I think that we do not have the sovereignty and we are not a state. We are now called a banana republic. But I believe that we have got some of the most educated scientists in this country and doctors who must be trusted to dissect the constitution of this vaccine and ensure that it is right and fit for our people. We may be poor, but we are not stupid. We can read when they write on the vaccine that this is not for distribution in the United States, and this cannot be used in the European Union. This injection cannot, this vaccine cannot be used in Europe. They're even telling you that this is not for us because they've got some other substandard stuff that they make for us. How do you know the injection that was given to President Biden is the same vaccine that is coming here? You didn't check it when they put it on him. You have not compared that vaccine to the vaccine you have received. You can watch it on CNN and say, even President Biden got a dosage of it. Are you sure? Did you see it? Did you get the drop and analyze it that it's the same drop getting into an African's body? I think that we need to be more responsible. And our salvation outside God will be by responsible governments on the continent of Africa. Corrupt governments, those who are just looking for money from the West, are going to kill their people like fools. We shall die like fools if we have a government which is corrupt and is only waiting to be given money by the international community. We should never accept everything that comes to us without verifying it ourselves. So I shall not debate myself our reservations on the privileged information that we hold about the coming vaccine. I think I shall leave that out. I shall not deal with it. Suffice to say that I would not inject it into my body, my children's, or those I love who happen to be all Zambians. This position can only change if it is established by ourselves that the vaccine is safe.
Although they try to stop us, they can't fight against us. They try very hard, but jamming the gate for I and I. Step along, children. Step along, go at it, baby. Step along, children. Step along, yeah. Children, yes, Poopa. Where have you been to on the top of reggae music? Children, yes, Poopa. Where have you been at the back of the line? I made them stop you. Step along, children. Step along, play it cool. Step along, we know that we must get there. Step along, children. Sometimes it seems that there ain't no way, but when Judge aside, there's a lot of way. Children, yes, football. Where have you been to on the top of reggae music? Children, yes, football. Don't let them judge you and choke you at the back of the music. Step along, children. Step along, you know we must go on. Step along, children. Step along, step along, step along, step right now. Step along. Well, children, children, yes, Papa. That's not the way I taught you. I taught you to be brave. Step along. Step along. You're under the right tutoring. Step along.
Step Along, the mighty culture taken from their album Culture in Culture. Time now, family, for the celebration of Timcat. Timcat is a religious festival celebrated with much zeal in Addis Ababa, Gondar, Simeon Mountains, Axum, and Lalibela in Ethiopia. The festival is an Ethiopian Orthodox celebration of the baptism in the River Yarden of IYATA Christ the Nazarene. Timcat is celebrated on the 19th or the 20th of January in a leap year, corresponding to the 11th day of Ter in the Ethiopian calendar. During the ceremony of Timcat, the tablet, which is the Ark of the Covenant, which is represented on every Ethiopian altar, is reverently wrapped in rich Ethiopian cloths and carried in procession on the head of the priest. The tablet, which is otherwise rarely seen, represents the manifestation of IYATA Christ the Nazarene, the Messiah, when he came to Yarden, some say Jordan River, for baptism by his cousin Johannes the Baptist. The Divine Liturgy is celebrated near a stream or a pool early in the morning around 2 a.m. The water is prayed over until dawn and sprinkled on participants. Some enter the water and immerse themselves symbolically, renewing their baptism vows. The festival does not end there. By noon on Timcat Day, Ethiopians assemble, and those who went home for a little sleep return, and the Ark of the Covenant is escorted back to the church in a colourful procession and festivities. The clergy, wearing robes and carrying umbrellas of many beautiful colours, perform roll-kicking dances and songs. The elders march solemnly with their weapons. The younger men sing, and the children play in full joy games. Dressed in their best, in their finest, the women catch up with each other in reasoning excitedly on their day off. The young braves leap up and down in spirited dances, tirelessly repeating rhythmic songs. When the Holy Ark has been safely restored to its dwelling place, everyone goes home for fasting. Timcat, celebrated in Ethiopia on the 19th or the 20th in a leap year. One perfect love, Rastafari. And sending out love to Ras Romeo and Sister Sharon, Ethiopian celebration specialists. One perfect love. Sealing up the celebration of Timcat is the Ethiopian anthem, Ras Michael and the Sons of Negus, taken from their album Rally Round. Sending this one out specially to reggae people, Ras Romeo and Sister Sharon, Ethiopian celebration specialists. One love.
Swiftly gather, your children are gathered to thee, with orange, gold, and green floating o'er us, and our emperor to shield us from wrong, with our hope and our future before us. We hail and we chant and we sing.
And I salute the great civil rights activist, the peacemaker, Martin Luther King Jr.
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one, in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by signs that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal staff, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Tell my people I won't be coming home. I'll be walking in the streets tonight, shaking hands with everybody I meet, saying the king had a dream and now it's my real life. The king had a dream and now it's my real life. I saw a man stop running. He ran so fast, he began to fly. He flew across America and then over the world. And if he can do it, so can I. And my children will say, so can I. Singing, yes, I am. Singing, I am my man. And I know that I can. 'Cause the king had a dream and now I know I can be all I can. Tell my people I won't be coming home. I'll be dancing in the streets tonight. And tell your people they can all come along. There's a party in the streets tonight. Don't you worry about no Babylon, 'cause they be switching off their guns and their hose pipes. We'll be singing freedom songs till the early morning. Come on, join in if you like. 'Cause the king had a dream and now it's my real life. Singing, yes, I am. Singing, I am my man. And I know that I can. 'Cause the king had a dream and now I know I can. I've seen over the mountaintop I have. So the king had a dream and now I know I can be all I can.
Saluting the great civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr., Natty and the Rebel Ship with The King Had a Dream from his album Release the Fear. Belated Earth-strong greetings to the I-Turbulence Rastafari.
Father Turbulence, early life, place of birth.
Right where we are right now, give thanks and praise. First of all, let me say greetings in the mighty and powerful name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie Jah, Rastafari. Right where we are right now, this is the root, this is the groundation, this is the foundation, this is where it all began. Right under this mango tree turpentine. It's called 6 Mary Crane, but otherwise known as Hungry Town. Right here, Miss Green, life giver, that's my mom, right here.
How many siblings?
You have Tommy, you have Ray, you have Jay. What do you say? 4 away. Yeah.
Tommy, Ray, and Jay. Everybody all right?
Yeah, but everybody there, everybody all right.
Mommy all right?
Well, unfortunately, she lost her life a couple months ago, so.
My condolences, sir.
Yeah, man.
Oh, the old man.
Yeah, we don't know the old man.
Oh, you don't know the old man.
We don't know the old man there, but
yeah.
We still give thanks, no hatred towards him.
Schooling, where you attended school?
First of all, it was Miss Watson Basic School up in Glen Drive, Cassava Peace.
Yeah.
And then we head on to Swallowfield All-Age School, and then we head on to St. Andrew Technical High School, and then we head on to Rastafari College.
Rastafari College.
And then we play as
Just reflecting though, growing up, what was it like growing up? Because it sounded like a mommy alone.
Well, a lot of people would come and lie to you and say, oh, you know, because the music fit the struggle. So a lot of people would come and say, oh, yeah, we were suffering and we were... Miss Green made it all possible for us, you know. We were poor, but we weren't needy.
Yeah.
See what I say? Miss Green go out there go work and, you know, we never know hungry and we never know, you know. We know hard times and we know struggle, but we never know hungry and sufferings, because Miss Green made it all possible for us. So we grew up poor, we're not rich, but, you know, the struggle was there. But yeah, man, Miss Green are the real mama, man.
So you grew up in Hungry Town. As a boy growing up. How come that journey there lead you to the music?
Well, you know, we found out that we have a talent, you know. First of all, we was a bathroom singer.
Yeah.
You know what I say?
Like everybody else, isn't it?
Yeah, we shy and, you know, we never want to go out there, but...
Turbulence was shy?
In my head, my music was the best. In my head, my music sounded good. And it wasn't until my grandfather lost his life.
Yeah.
They must try to find a singer. For singer in funeral. And that they link up Turbulence the Future. Then we go up there and we sing with one of my cousins them, and my uncle was a member of the audience, and he had a linkage with Mr. Philip Fatis Burrell, Exterminator family. And he said, yo, are you serious in the music? And I said, yeah man, I'm serious man. Really serious, I love it. And he linked me with Fatis them. The producer who brought you, SISTA Kalanji,
the whole Exterminator family.
Sanchez, everybody, you know, and from that raw talent, you know, once he captivate my presence, you know, the talent was raw, but he nurtured it, and we're here now today.
So it was out of a tragic situation that the talent
behind
was
the dark cloud.
Exposed.
It's like behind the dark
world.
cloud, you know, comes the rainbow.
But the birth name, the government name, so to speak, is Sheldon Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Turbulence. So you get the name there?
I was going by the name of Double Trouble.
Double Trouble?
Yeah. DT.
Double Trouble from Hungry Town.
So, therefore, I was going by that name, and then I went to a function.
Oh, you got that name there, though?
I don't know, man. When I say Turbulence, a trouble, man. When I say me, a trouble, basically, you know. So, we had to lean forward to a different name that can depict the character of the artist and of himself. So, when we got so back and went to a function in a garrison area, mash up the place, a little elder Rasta man come to me and say, you're not creating no trouble.
Yeah.
You're not causing no trouble, you create a turbulence.
Mad.
And I say, yeah.
It stick. It work, man.
And this one, disturbing to Babylon, strong for the Gideon, righteous to all that is wrong, that is turbulence.
Mad. The music though, you say you started out as a bathroom singer, right? But from early out, you believe in your own music. You believe you have all of the talent and all of the quality in the world.
Yeah.
But when was the first time you really realized that something in it and we can progress and move forward with it?
You know, let me be honest today. The first time I realized that I would start make the first $1,000. Without lie, because I was, you know, we were loving it and we were just doing it because of love, and it's like a hobby, and we're just doing it. And then sing a dub plate and a man say, it's $10,000. I said, wait, but it's a money making thing. First of all, because we never know, say it was so powerful that it can transcend and make messages all across the world. We never know that thing there. Because we think what's cornered and in our little hole. So this but until we realize, and then, boy, I mean, I know, it take us to a higher level, so we'll give thanks.
Who was the first person to bring you to a studio?
You know, say, the first person.
We can say, when was you remember the first time you went to a studio?
Yeah, Gregory Isaac Studio on Redders Road. You know, we just, as youths in the area, Gregory Isaac Studio was down in Redders Road, so we just say, and beg the king a chance, and him say, go and go voice, man, young youth. And we just sing, we don't know nothing about the industry, the royalties, the business, nothing, we just sing because Gregory Isaac say what? Sing, so we just sing.
The first time you ventured into a studio was Gregory Isaac Studio.
Yes,
and he was welcoming, and he gave you an opportunity to express yourself.
Yes.
You remember the first song you ever voiced in our studio?
Come out of the ghetto if we tread. That was for Mr. Gregory Isaac, as I said earlier. Second song that he aired on the air for Mr. Philip Fatis Burrell was Close Your Eyes, Think of Peace. actually here when I heard it the first time.
Yeah.
You know the yard are big, right?
Yeah, man.
So we run around the yard about 10 times. We think we're boss.
Yeah.
Not knowing that.
Where's the think the boss?
Think the boss, yeah. Radio? Yeah, the man.
Yeah. Remember which DJ heard it for the first time?
GT
Our radio
Taylor.
station, GT, Ari.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So how well did that song do?
That song, you know, it was a starting of it's a stepping stone, you know what I mean? So it propelled it so much that we got to sign with ASCAP, you know, JCAP, you know, we paperwork was put together, we get passport, we get visa, you know, put that together and we went on tour. It earned me the respect of Sizzla Kalonji.
Important step that
Yeah, so when that came about now, we went on tour to open for Sizzla.
Yeah.
So I've been opening for Sizzla for 5 years without even nobody knowing who's Turbulence. So
yeah.
I've been just doing 3 songs. But you know, we are the handyman pan tour too, so we go shop, we cook, we do, you know, so
still put in the work
and we
and
still
wait your
because,
time.
you know, it's a privilege because them time the Kalonji have about 20 man round him with artists.
Yeah.
And if your man choose me from Town, it's a privilege.
So that song started opening doors.
Opening doors.
Yeah. So after that then, what was the next recording?
Next recording, we had a lot.
Yeah.
After that, we had a lot established songs, but not very popular.
Yes.
You know, and then we keep working, we keep working.
Important.
Sweat up your brow, you shall eat bread. So we just keep working, we keep doing it, we keep mastering the craft because at that time we sounded like Sizzla, because Sizzla was my Sizzla was an idol. Prolific artist, great artist, so we tried to sound like him and then we tried to find our sound after that.
So the long and short of that is Sizzla was an early influence on the sound of Turbulence.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a bad person to emulate though.
Thank you. So and within that now aspect we start to find our own sound. Start to find our own sound, you know, own melody, we try to come different. And then we find the Turbulence sound.
Yes. So what was that song that introduced Turbulence to the world?
That song was called Notorious.
What was the story behind that song
Notorious, because, you know, it's a true story for people who are surrounding, you know, within and about the surrounding areas. It's what could have been. Some people in a foreign, everywhere them see me, them call me Notorious, the Notorious. No, me and a BIG. I said I could have been one of the most notorious. Therefore, me I depict what could have happened, what could have gone if me never really choose this route we're upon right now. Because we sit amongst killers and people who have that in a genre, and then them show the vibe and them say, yo, left them to time, and just come up with the idea, say, yo. It's merely indicating what could have been.
Yeah.
I could have been bad, but I chose the good way. Yo, and me go tell them, say, I could have been one of the most notorious. I got saved by the King, and His grace is so glorious.
Smart thing. That song has transcended time. And the message and the lesson in that song continues to be relevant even now, especially the fact where we know what the crime situation of the country is, right? So I don't know if when you did a pen that song, you did realize how the impact that song would have not only for your career, but also for you, so then grow up in a certain environment and surroundings like you, because that song will continue to live on even after Turbulence has passed on.
And that's true, I mean, I want to tell the musicians, them, and the singers and players of instruments that good music is always the music that's gonna live.
Yeah.
Because everybody in the world have a heart.
And
you know me, I say, and them know that goodness and righteousness exalt the nation and sin is a reproach.
Yeah.
So we always have to sing good music. Even if you're gonna sing the book, you blah 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 blah. If you're there,
you still have to count, right?
Still have to, you know me, I say. So Notorious, you know, it's surprising to me because when I recorded it, you know, we recorded thousands of songs before Notorious.
Thousands of songs?
Thousands of songs, because I have 58 albums and 5,000 singles.
58 albums and 5,000 singles.
You know,
I have a business Turbulence.
All recorded by ASCAP and know, so them tell me the things. So me,
yeah,
I say,
yeah.
All me I say is, you don't know what gonna hit. Keep working.
Rastafari is my life. How you mean? Let the words of my mouth be acceptable. Meditation of my heart be upright. For I guide my steps along life's journey, and let my works be clean in your sight. Because Babylon
Black Star Line, time for yourself. Remember over evil, good shall prevail. Hey, in my going out and my coming in, I and I will always hail up the King. Can't cool, can't quench, fire blazing, giving thanks and praise for the life savings. Balance, all when the wicked them a question with motive. Tell them all them space, cause Rasta no notice. Zion I still a hold the lassie I closest. Body strength in the Rasta man progress. Let us praise him. It's the lassie I for life and I will never betray him. It's the lassie I for life and I let us praise him. It's the lassie I for life and I will never betray him. It's the lassie I for life and I laugh off of them ready events, you know. Them a tell me say me crazy. To me hail King Selassie I daily. With no request him never fail me. Black Star Line I come round here come seal me. Right back to Africa. Al-Kabul and me are that sabbatical. Earth in the communion. Burn down Babylon. Bingy is your pain better than the paracetamol. Still I see you me general. Let me hear you say Selassie. Let me hear you say Emmanuel. Let me hear you say John Marcus. Now you Bingy chanting. Let me hear you say Selassie. Let me hear you say Emmanuel. Say John Marcus. Rastafari, the generates the people Xtra. Turn up the bass, make we boom down Babylon. Put on the Gideon boots, make we kick down Vatican. Turn up the fire, make we blaze down Buckingham. We in a Babylon for too long. Say them give away Jesus and go take where we king. Change the lyrics, now the song them that we used to sing. Sell out me brothers and me sisters, we bling. I know every African in the West suffer. Let us praise him. King Selassie I for life and I will never betray him. King Selassie I for life and I let us praise him. King Selassie I for life and I will never betray him.
I remember and salute the great Joseph Hill, Rastafari.
When Rasta have to step in the music is when we see that the opportunity was there and they used it for the wrong purpose. And what of great need to be said, nobody was really willing, ready, and able to say so. And I thought I have something to say. Like myself and brothers like Bob Marley, true that them call our music rebel music. Yeah. My days of playing music and young Spain youth, yeah, I play rebel music. Any music have something to do with human bloodline, I love to listen to it. Because that is what society try to destroy. The keeper of the earth, which is man. Did anybody ever sit down and look at the value of one man instead of trying to kill one? One man, great value, you know. Yeah. Then father make him good, big, fat, tall, white, black, blue, Indian, or Syrian, big, fat, strong man and put on the earth. And one destroyer rise up now with his death angel heart and take the life of a man and telling me that you are signed to that. You keep eating food and drinking water and Christ, God hurt with me here? No. One of us will have to go. And God is not going to kill the innocent or the wicked man. We'll have to move. As easy as that. He will have to move wherever he may be. Yeah. We'll have to move.
Then the leaders of the world,
justice. Just imagine I was brought from Africa, and then I've been aside of the world. I hear all them things that take place in South Africa. And you tell me in the name of God that no man no vex, I will I vex Rasta. And any man no vex no have no ambition. Sure. Go tell my brothers down in South Africa, Lord, that will soon come. Go tell my brothers down in South Africa, Lord, that will soon come. We have heard about your troubles. We have heard about your sorrows. Let me tell you, right now we're in the same dirty position too. Hungry and naked and tear up and stinking, don't know what to do. We are still in sympathy. Go tell our brothers down in South Africa, Lord, that we soon come. Please, go tell my brothers down in South Africa, Lord, that we soon come. What a pain, why? Them are people too, you know. Take care of them, you know. Oh God. I'm gonna speak the truth, oh God. Don't you do that to them. I breathe the greener. Realize about your troubles. We have about your sorrows. Right now our heart is willing, but our little flesh is weak. Apartheid action is still upon us. Cannot we get something to eat? But please, go tell our brothers down in South Africa, Lord, they will soon come. Coming to free them now. Go tell our brothers down in South Africa, Lord, they will soon come. Now with big gun, you know, coming with reggae music to free your minds. That you can listen to our lyrics and see the sign of the time. Go tell our brothers down in South Africa, Lord, they will soon come. Whoa. They take us away from our homeland. They take us away from our homeland. And we're slaving down here in Babylon. And we are slaving down here in Babylon. We are waiting on an opportunity. We are waiting on an opportunity for the black Starliner, which is to come. For the black Starliner, which is to come. Yeah, so long, da-da-da-da, so long. So long, da-da-da-da, so long. We are waiting on the black Starliner.
Ireful greetings, Twinkle Stars, and welcome to the Twinkle Star Iowa in a new strong with new knowledge. Never stop learning because life never stops teaching. Every day is a new day, never experienced before. Lots to learn. Every teacher and every professor were one student. So let's rock knowledge. Welcome forward. A joy to be in the I presence today. A pre-recorded Twinkle Star Iowa, but I and I gonna rock it set speed. One love, Twinkle Stars. Welcome forward.
Twinkle Stars Iowa. Every Monday between 4 and 5 on SLR. SISTA IYATA style.
Hey, Black Child by County Color. Hey, Black Child, do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, Black Child, do you know where you're going? Where you're really going? Do you know you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn what you can learn? Hey, Black Child, do you know you are strong? I mean really strong? Do you know you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, Black Child, be what you can be, learn what you must learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow your nation will be what you want it to be.
I am Brian Tensai. This is the Twinkle Star Iowa.
We can do it. We shall do it.
1 times table. 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 times 1 equals 2. 3 times 1 equals 3. 4 times 1 equals 4. 5 times 1 equals 5. 6 times 1 equals 6. 7 times 1 equals 7. 8 times 1 equals 8. 9 times 1 equals 9. 10 times 1 equals 10. 11 times 1 equals 11. 12 times 1 equals 12. 2 times table. 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. 3 times 2 equals 6. 4 times 2 equals 8. 5 times 2 equals 10. 6 times 2 equals 12. 7 times 2 equals 14. 8 times 2 equals 16. 9 times 2 equals 18. 10 times 2 equals 20. 11 times 2 equals 22. 12 times 2 equals 24. 3 times table. 1 times 3 equals 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. 4 times 3 equals 12. 5 times 3 equals 15. 6 times 3 equals 18. 7 times 3 equals 21. 8 times 3 equals 24. 9 times 3 equals 27. 10 times 3 equals 30. 11 times 3 equals 33. 12 times 3 equals 36. 4 times table. 1 times 4 equals 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. 3 times 4 equals 12. 4 times 4 equals 16. 5 times 4 equals 20. 6 times 4 equals 24. 7 times 4 equals 28. 8 times 4 equals 32. 9 times 4 equals 36. 10 times 4 equals 40. 11 times 4 equals 44. 12 times 4 equals 48. 5 times table. 1 times 5 equals 5. 2 times 5 equals 10. 3 times 5 equals 15. 4 times 5 equals 20. 5 times 5 equals 25. 6 times 5 equals 30. 7 times 5 equals 35. 8 times 5 equals 40. 9 times 5 equals 45. 10 times 5 equals 50. 11 times 5 equals 55. 12 times 5 equals 60. 6 times table. 1 times 6 equals 6. 2 times 6 equals 12. 3 times 6 equals 18. 4 times 6 equals 24. 5 times 6 equals 30. 6 times 6 equals 36. 7 times 6 equals 42. 8 times 6 equals 48. 9 times 6 equals 54. 10 times 6 equals 60. 11 times 6 equals 66. 12 times 6 equals 72.
7 times tables. 1 times 7 equals 7. 2 times 7 equals 14. 3 times 7 equals 21. 4 times 7 equals 28. 5 times 7 equals 35. 6 times 7 equals 42. 7 times 7 equals 49. 8 times 7 equals 56. 9 times 7 equals 63. 10 times 7 equals 70. 11 times 7 equals 77. 12 times 7 equals 84. 8 times tables.
This is now the Children's Hour on SLR. IYATA style.
1 times 8 equals 8. 2 times 8 equals 16. 3 times 8 equals 24. 4 times 8 equals 32. 5 times 8 equals 40. 6 times 8 equals 48. 7 times 8 equals 56. 8 times 8 equals 64. 9 times 8 equals 72. 10 times 8 equals 80. 11 times 8 equals 88. 12 times 8 equals 96. 9 times tables. 1 times 9 equals 9. 2 times 9 equals 18. 3 times 9 equals 27. 4 times 9 equals 36. 5 times 9 equals 45. 6 times 9 equals 54. 7 times 9 equals 63. 8 times 9 equals 72. 9 times 9 equals 81. 10 times 9 equals 90. 11 times 9 equals 99. 12 times 9 equals 108. 10 times tables. 1 times 10 equals 10. 2 times 10 equals 20. 3 times 10 equals 30. 4 times 10 equals 40. 5 times 10 equals 50. 6 times 10 equals 60. 7 times 10 equals 70. 8 times 10 equals 80. 9 times 10 equals 90. 10 times 10 equals 100. 11 times 10 equals 110. 12 times 10 equals 120. 11 times tables. 1 times 11 equals 11. 2 times 11 equals 22. 3 times 11 equals 33. 4 times 11 equals 44. 5 times 11 equals 55. 6 times 11 equals 66. 7 times 11 equals 77. 8 times 11 equals 88. 9 times 11 equals 99. 10 times 11 equals 110. 11 times 11 equals 121. 12 times 11 equals 132. 12 times tables. 1 times 12 equals 12. 2 times 12 equals 24. 3 times 12 equals 36. 4 times 12 equals 48. 5 times 12 equals 60. 6 times 12 equals 72. 7 times 12 equals 84. 8 times 12 equals 96. 9 times 12 equals 108. 10 times 12 equals 120. 11 times 12 equals 132. 12 times 12 equals 144.
We can do it. We shall do it.
This device allows its controller to tune in to different frequencies. We know them as channels. A frequency is the rate at which something occurs or is repeated over a particular period of time. In the context of television, a band of frequencies is used to show a music video, sitcom, movie, or animation. When a viewer tunes in, the program now has access to his or her brain. Inside the brain are mirror neurons, which causes humans to mimic what they see. So when we allow our children to watch television, we have to be very mindful of what frequency they are on. I highly recommend that children tune into edutainment shows that promote favorable self-images, heighten self-esteem, and cultivate a sense of self-awareness.
We can do it. We shall do it.
The word democracy comes from the Greek words of demos, which means people, and kratos, which means power or rule. So democracy basically means the rule of the people. Democracy first started as a direct democracy in Greek cities, notably ancient Athens, where people came together to speak about their concerns and opinions in front of rulers of the city-state and directly voted on new rules and laws. Here is considered as the birthplace of democracy. For the very first time, decisions were made by the people instead of rulers. But sadly, the ancient Greeks did not see all people equally. Slaves, women, children, and the people who did not have a land weren't allowed to vote. This is what we call a flawed democracy today. After the Greeks lost their power and influence in the 1st century AD, their early forms of democracy were also fading away until the Magna Carta was signed in 1215, which prevented the King of England to do whatever he wanted and said that even the king had to follow the country's rules and laws which were written in the Constitution. Today, most democracies are indirect or representative, which means that you can't vote for a new law yourself, but you can vote for people who then become lawmakers and present your interests. But democracy isn't just about voting. It's about everything to protect the best interests of the people, no matter what is their race, gender, political opinion, or religion. These interests can be human rights, quality of life, infrastructure, and many more. Modern democracies divide power into 3 different branches: the legislative, the people who make the law; the executive, the people who make sure that you obey the law; and the judiciary, who judge you if you commit a crime. These 3 are independent and work following the process, checks and balances, which means all the work must be clear and fair. And very important, the people who have power also must follow the law and not exceed their authority. In addition, a democratic government must work in a way that reflects the wish feeling, desire, and values of the society that it governs. This is also known as the general will, which is a concept developed by the famous Swiss philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. One of the problems of democratic voting is that the biggest groups of people always have the most power, and that's why a good democracy also has laws to protect the rights of its smaller and weaker groups. A democracy where the majority chooses to separate, expel, or injure its minority is not a functioning democracy. So, what do you think now about democracy?
This is now the children's hour on SLR, IYATA style.
Capitalism, socialism, and communism are all political and economic models. Capitalism. In capitalist societies, products and services are provided by the individual. These individuals employ workers and are allowed to keep the profit from the excess production the workers create. This system incentivizes individuals to come up with ways of generating wealth for themselves. Competition between rival businesses occurs naturally. This leads to more productivity, which in turn generates wealth and advancement for the rest of society. Karl Marx, a German philosopher, identified that the capitalist model created a sharp divide between the wealthier citizens and the poorest. He felt the system exploited the worker, and he promoted the socialist model, which he hoped would later develop into communism. Socialism. In socialist societies, it is the government who own and operate the means for production, i.e. land, natural resources, factories, etc. The citizens earn a wage but only receive what they need. The aim of the game is equality between all people and the elimination of social classes. Marx envisioned that a successful socialist model would morph into communism. Communism. In communism, it is the working class who own everything, and what the collective produces as a whole is shared out according to need. Socialism, communism, and capitalism in the real world. When socialist models are applied in countries, some fundamental issues with the system come to light. As socialism does not reward the individual to produce more than anyone else, there is no incentive to think outside the box and find ways of creating more production and therefore more wealth. This then leads to low production, which then creates mass poverty. No country has ever developed into a communist country in the strict sense of what communism means. Countries which have adopted socialism has seen rampant corruption, with people in power abusing their positions. Instead of working toward a society where they can give up their power, they instead work to consolidate it. However, there are countries who have seen success combining both capitalist and socialist ideals. For example, Northern European countries reward the individual for excess production, but a heavy system of taxation helps redistribute wealth amongst the collective. So even though everyone may not be equal, there is a certain standard of living that all citizens will enjoy, and social and class differences are not so extreme. And that, in a nutshell, is capitalism, socialism, and communism explained.
SLR, we have the power. This is now the children's hour on SLR.
Have you ever wondered how we can obtain food, clothes, and everything else that we need to be able to live? Well, the answer is easy peasy. We get these things by working. That's why it's so important to study, because this way we can choose our future correctly, and then we can end up doing what we love. A job is simply something that a person does in exchange for money or another benefit. But because not all jobs are the same, we classify them into three large groups: the primary sector, the secondary sector, and lastly, the tertiary sector. To start off with, the primary sector includes all jobs that obtain raw materials directly from nature, like this farmer, or this stockman. But before I continue, do you know what raw materials are? Well, it's easy peasy. Raw materials are resources that humans obtain from nature, and they can be directly consumed or or they can be made and transformed into consumer goods. The fruit and fish we eat, the wool we get from sheep, to manufacture warm clothes, like this sweatshirt, or steel, with which we can produce tools, or aeroplanes. So, all of these things are called raw materials. Agriculture, fishing, livestock, logging, and mining are all jobs in the primary sector. Then we have the secondary sector. This is the sector that transforms the raw materials into elaborated final products, like cheese that comes from milk, or this car that has lots of raw materials within it, and one of them being steel. So, industry, crafts, and construction all form part of the secondary sector. The tertiary sector doesn't have products. Instead, it offers services. Education, healthcare, trade, and transport are all part of the tertiary sector. For example, doctors heal us. Teachers teach us. And hairdressers cut our hair and leave us this beautiful. As you can see, these professions, these jobs, aren't offering material goods. But they help and protect us. They are offering super important services. Well, now we know what jobs are and how they are classified into sectors. Primary sector, the secondary sector, and finally the tertiary sector. Now, all I need to say is that you study and work really, really hard, because this will mean that you can have whatever job you want, and this way you'll be really happy. So goodbye, friends, see you next time, and I hope you're always ready to learn.
Twinkle Stars Iowa. Every Monday between 4 and 5 on SLR. SISTA IYATA style.
How do I become a scientist?
Well, that's easy. All you have to do is love nature. If you love nature and you're curious about, let's say, how a tree grows or how a pool ball rolls along a table, then that's it. You're a scientist. And the next step is basically all you have to do in school is develop the skills to pursue those curiosities. And that can happen by taking science classes, that's obvious, or even taking art classes. Why? Well, because the skills that you learn in those classes will help you pursue your interests. And that's what a scientist does. He takes those talents and skills and applies them to understanding how that tree grows or how that pool ball rolls along the table.
What kind of work do scientists do?
Well, there's quite a few jobs that scientists do. For instance, here at the Eye Institute, we have medical doctors who take care of eye diseases. We have research scientists who work in laboratories who study how we see. And then there are scientists like myself who work as science writers who take all that great information that these doctors and research scientists produce and turn them into stories that you can understand.
We can do it. We shall do it.
Did you know that our brain doesn't hurt? If we were poked in the brain, we wouldn't feel anything because the brain doesn't feel pain. Don't get on your nerves. When we are stressed, meaning when we are very, very nervous, our brain shrinks. It becomes smaller and works worse. So you know, we need to relax. Do you know how much our brain weighs? Well, our brain weighs 1.5 kilos. The truth is, I thought it weighed a lot less. Can you hear it? It's laughter. Laughter is very good for our brain. When we laugh, our brain is also happy. And it makes us think more clearly and be more positive. So everyone, let's laugh. The brain never rests. When we sleep, our brain is still active, and thanks to it, our heart keeps pumping and our lungs keep breathing. The human body is incredible, isn't it? So it works better. We need to do a lot of physical and mental exercise. The more we use it, the more it works. Goodbye, happy friends.
This is now the Children's Hour on SLR, IYATA style.
Why do we have our belly button? What is it used for? Before we are born, while we were still in our mother's bellies, we didn't feed through our mouths. Nope. We fed through the umbilical cord. This cord, which united the mother and her child, is in charge of taking oxygen and nutrients to the baby. And thanks to this, it can develop and live. At birth, doctor cuts the umbilical cord, since the baby can now start to feed orally. That means it can eat through its mouth, like all of us. Once the umbilical cord is cut, a small piece is left on the baby. But with time, this piece falls off as a souvenir of when we were still in our mother's womb. That scar, that small hole we call our belly button. I'm sure that's from now on, every time you look at your belly button, you'll remember your beloved mother. Goodbye, happy friends.
Twinkle Stars Iowa. Every Monday between 4 and 5 on SLR. SISTA IYATA style.
Beneath your ribs, you'll find, among other things, the pancreas, an organ that works a lot like a personal health coach. This organ controls your sugar levels and produces a special juice that releases the nutrients from your food to help keep you in the best possible shape. The pancreas sits just behind your stomach, an appropriate home, as one of its jobs is to break down the food you eat. It aids digestion by producing a special tonic made of water, sodium bicarbonate, and digestive enzymes. Sodium bicarbonate neutralizes the stomach's natural acidity, so these digestive enzymes can perform their jobs. Lipase breaks down fatty substances. Protease splits up proteins. And amylase divides carbohydrates to create energy-rich sugars. Most of those nutrients then get absorbed into the bloodstream and go on to enrich the body. While all this is happening, the pancreas works on another critical task, controlling the amount of sugar in your blood. It achieves this with the hormones insulin and glucagon, which are produced in special cells called the islets of Langerhans. Having too much or too little sugar can be life-threatening, so the pancreas must stay on constant alert. After a big meal, the blood often becomes flushed with sugar. To bring us back to normal, the pancreas releases insulin, which makes the excess sugar move into cells where it's either used as an energy source or stored for later. Insulin also tells the liver to shut down sugar production. On the other hand, if blood sugar is low, the pancreas releases a hormone called glucagon that tells the body's cells and liver to release stored sugars back into the bloodstream. The interplay between insulin and glucagon is what keeps our sugar levels balanced. But a faulty pancreas can no longer coach us like this, meaning that this healthy balance is destroyed. If it's weakened by disease, the organ's ability to produce insulin may be reduced or even extinguished, which can trigger the condition known as diabetes. Without regular insulin release, sugar steadily builds up in the blood, eventually hardening the blood vessels and causing heart attacks, kidney failure, and strokes. The same lack of insulin deprives cells of the energy-rich sugar they need to grow and function. People with diabetes also tend to have higher levels of glucagon, which makes even more sugar circulate. Without this internal health coach, our sugar levels would go haywire, and we wouldn't be able to digest important nutrients. But like any coach, it's not the pancreas's job alone to keep us healthy. It needs our conscious participation too.
This is now the Children's Hour on SLR, IYATA.
Visiting the bathroom is part of the daily human experience, but occasionally, constipation strikes, a condition that causes a backup in your digestive system. The food you eat can take several days to exit your body, and for many, constipation can become chronic, meaning regularly passing lumpy, hard stools accompanied by straining. What's behind this unsettling phenomenon? Constipation arises in the colon, also known as the large intestine. This muscular organ is split into 4 sections, the ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon, which connects with the rectum and anus. The small intestine delivers stool, consisting of ingested food, bile, and digestive juices to the large intestine. As this stool moves through the colon, the organ siphons off most of the water it contains, transforming it from liquid to solid. The longer this transmission takes, the more reabsorption occurs, resulting in increasingly solid stool. Once it reaches the sigmoid colon, a final bout of reabsorption occurs before it enters the rectum, distending its walls and telling the internal anal sphincter to relax. This is the point where you can usually decide whether to physically expel or retain the stool. That's regulated by the pelvic floor muscles, particularly the puborectalis and external anal sphincter. The puborectalis forms a sling-like formation around the rectum, called the anorectal angle. And when you voluntarily relax your external anal sphincter, the stool is finally expelled. When you're constipated, however, a desire to visit the bathroom isn't enough to coax your body into action. Usually there's 2 factors behind this problem: the stool's slow movement through the colon and/or pelvic floor dysfunction. In the first, stool moves excessively slowly through the intestines, causing overabsorption of liquid, which makes the stool dry and hard. With pelvic floor dysfunction, stool becomes difficult to eliminate from the rectum because of tightened pelvic floor muscles, or due to a pelvic organ prolapse, usually through childbirth or aging. Both of these problems make the anorectal angle more acute, and it becomes difficult to expel waste. To identify constipation precisely, researchers have developed metrics such as the Bristol stool chart. Most people who look at that chart will be able to tell they've experienced constipation before. When you're on the toilet, you should ideally be in a squatting position. With your buttocks firmly on the toilet seat, you can elevate your feet on a stool and lean forwards with a straight back, which straightens the anorectal angle and eases the passage of waste. Going a day without a bowel movement isn't necessarily cause for alarm, but if you are experiencing chronic constipation, simple dietary and lifestyle changes like fibrous vegetables, regular exercise, abdominal massage, and 6 to 8 cups of water per day may help restore your daily trip to the toilet.
I take a sip of cool, clear water. I take a sip, another sip, a sip of cool, clear water. I drink a glass, but not too fast, a glass of cool, clear water. I drink it slow, it's best you know, to sip some cool, clear water. I drink more water every day of the week. I drink less juice, it's too sweet for my teeth. And I feel great from my head to my feet, 'cause water makes my body work better. Now when it's hot, it's really hot, I need to drink more water. Cause when I sweat, you can bet I need to drink more water. Or when I'm out running about, I need to drink more water. Won't overheat, I have a seat and sip some cool, clear water. I drink more water every day of the week. I drink less juice, it's too sweet for my teeth. And I feel great from my head to my feet. 'Cause water makes my body work better. Drink more water. You know you really ought to. Drink more water. You know you really ought to. Drink more water. You know you really ought to. Drink more water.
SLR, we are the power. This is now the Children's Hour on SLR.
Belly breathing. In this mindfulness practice, you will learn a deep breathing technique. Sit on the floor and cross your legs, or sit upright in your chair. Everyone take a deep breath in. Did your shoulders rise and your chest go out? This is most people's response, but it is incorrect. When we breathe in deeply, our shoulders should stay still and our stomachs should go out. This is because our diaphragm, a muscle under our lungs and above our stomachs, flattens and pushes out our stomach area, which is why we call it belly breathing. This is how singers and actors breathe to use their voice properly. Belly breathing instantly increases the amount of oxygen in our bloodstream. It calms our nervous system and releases feel-good chemicals into our bodies, so it is a key part of mindfulness. So, let's begin. Put your hands on your belly. Imagine you have a balloon in there, and when you breathe in, you're filling the balloon up with air and making your belly blow up. Breathe out and let the air out of the balloon. Your belly should go in and your hands go down. Let's repeat that. Breathe in through your nose, fill the balloon up with air. Now breathe out of your mouth, let the air out of the balloon. Let's keep going. In through your nose. Now breathe out through your mouth and flatten the balloon in your stomach. You shouldn't hear your breath go in. If you can, this means you're breathing too quickly. Breathe in and blow up the balloon, and breathe out again. Keep your back and your shoulders still. Nowhere apart from your stomach and chest should be moving. Breathe in and breathe out. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time in and last time out. Well done. Don't worry if you found this challenging. It will take a lot of practice before deep belly breathing becomes natural and easy. You should now feel relaxed as you have increased the oxygen into your bloodstream, calmed your nervous system, and released lots of feel-good chemicals into your bodies. You can do your belly breathing at any time, in any place. Even a couple of belly breaths will calm you down, wherever you are. Try it whenever you next feel worried.
can do it. We shall do it.
Let's begin with Queen Ndate Yala from the Kingdom of Wallo in Senegal. Queen Ndate is considered one of the greatest rulers in Senegalese history, and she's perhaps the most famous woman in 19th century Senegambia. She played a crucial role for the sovereignty in her region. After the fall of the Jolof Empire in Senegal, various kingdoms began to seize power in the region, the Kingdom of Wallo being one of them. Wallo wanted to maintain their assets, especially against their French neighbors in St. Louis, who wanted to rid themselves of the expensive trade and customs dealings with Wallo, as goods had to pass through their country in order to perform business. Commercial expansion in West Africa was very important to the French, and so pressure was mounting. Queen Ndate Yala came to power during this boiling point. In 1847, Queen Ndate remained stern against the French as she continued to tax the French every time they passed through her land. After French protests, this is what the Queen had to say: "We have wronged no one because the country belongs to us and we must govern it. It is we who guarantee the passage of livestock in our country. For this reason, we will take a tenth and we will never accept otherwise. St. Louis belongs to the governor, Cayer to the Damo, and Wallo to the Brac. Each of these leaders governs his country as he sees fit." The Queen was well aware of French ambition and did not allow any concessions with them. As new French settlers moved into the region, they increasingly refused to pay tribute to Wallo, and the Queen decided to act. Queen Ndate did not hesitate to plunder the island around St. Louis Island, where the French settlers were, and she forbade any travel into her region for trade. The French decided that the only way in which to have any economic advantage in the region was to take Wallo. After months of battle, the Queen and her husband refused to submit to the French invasion of their country. She even mobilized more forces to counter the French. In 1855, French forces and their African allies were too much for the Kingdom of Wallo. Even in defeat, the Queen still tried to rally the troops. She fought until the very end. Her loyalty and dedication to her people is testament to her great legacy, and she's honored in Senegal today because of it. Next, we have the only successful ruler to resist colonial aggression on our list, Shangamire Dumbo. In the 17th century, Portuguese ambition became more and more clear in the Zimbabwe area. The Portuguese began to dominate the area south of the Zambezi River, especially because the kingdom of Mwene Mutapa was declining due to succession disputes. This decline prompted local princes to ask Portugal for aid in acquiring the Mwene Mutapa throne. With the decline of Mwene Mutapa and more Portuguese control, local Shona rulers developed their own armies. One of these rulers distinguished himself militarily, and he became known as Shangamire Dumbo, the ruler and founder of the Rosvi Empire. They were known as the Destroyers because they destroyed everything in their path, including the Portuguese and their African allies. By the 1670s, the Shangamire, or ruler, and his men became a major force in the northeast Zimbabwe plateau. He challenged the Portuguese near the Zambezi River at the Battle of Mongwe, a battle in which he was victorious. Shangamire Dumbo continued to wreak havoc on the Portuguese, and in some cases even humiliated them in some engagements, defiling their graves and sacred images. The Rosvi threat, solely initiated by the great Shangamire Dumbo, accompanied by other factors, prompted many Portuguese settlers to leave the plateau altogether. Under the rule of Shangamire Dumbo, Portuguese colonial ambition never met its true potential. Last but not least, we have Samori Toure. Samori Toure was a 19th century ruler of a largely Mande-speaking empire in West Africa during French colonial intrusion. How he was able to form a state in the middle of French colonial ambition was quite impressive. The beginning of his military career began with an invading army of Cisse warriors who took control of his hometown. He later joined this army and quickly rose to high rank because of his extraordinary intelligence and military skill. Samori soon broke away from the army and formed his own loyal group that began to extend their authority. They demonstrated extraordinary tactical ability under Touré's leadership and posed a huge threat to the French. Upon the formation of his own empire, Samori Touré knew it was important to unify family clans and ethnic groups who were previously at war with one another. Soon, Samori became a ruler who possessed a field army of 10,000 to 12,000 well-armed, highly trained soldiers. Samori Touré tried to expand his empire along trade routes, but the West African Muslim empires had begun to suffer the encroachment of European colonial powers, and he came up against the French imperialist expansion at Bamako. He was able to maintain a semblance of his empire through minor fighting and treaties, and he also used relations with the British in Sierra Leone to supply his armies with rifles from Freetown. Through some great leadership and tactical maneuvers, Samori was able to hold off French troops while simultaneously carving out a new state in the region of present-day Ghana and the Ivory Coast. This was very impressive. Because of his accomplishments, some scholars compare him with other great conquerors in world history. The French and their African allies eventually got the upper hand in 1898 and finally ended Samori Touré's empire. Samori Touré could have easily given in to French colonialism in attempts to position himself as a sort of puppet ruler to aid the French in maintaining power, but he chose to fight, unify, and advance African sovereignty. And he and all the others in this video should be remembered for that. Well, I'm all out, guys.
You ready, Sam?
Yeah.
We can tell everybody what they can be when they grow up. They can be anything. You ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
You can be an A. You can be an architect. Get a building to kiss the sky. You can be a D. You can be a biochemist. Make medicine save lives. You can be a C. Computer or software developer with programs, systems, and files. You can be a D. You can be a dentist. Cause everybody loves to smile. You can be an E. You can be an engineer. Solve problems of all kinds. Chemical, mechanical, electrical. Use the power of your mind. You can be an S. You can be a firefighter. Fight fires in red trucks. You can be a G. Gastroenterologist. Deal with problems in the gut. You can be an H. Hospital administrator. Hospitals need leaders. You can be an I. Intelligence officer. The FBI kind of people. You can be a J. You can be a judge. Help people who seek justice. You can be a K. Kindergarten teacher. Those kids are young and restless. You can be an L. You can be a lawyer. Cause people need to know their rights. You can be an M. Mobile app developer. Like the people that made Fortnite. You can be an N. You can be a nurse. Medical kit for the masses. You can be an O. Optometrist. For people that need eyeglasses. You can be a P. Paramedic. For medical emergencies. You can be a Q. Quantum physicist. For particles and energy. You can be an R. Researcher. Find cures for disease. You can be an S. Stockbroker. You get to work with money. You can be a T. Truck mechanic. Trucks are critical transportation. You can be a U. University president. More the future of your nation. You can be a V. Video game designer. Or Xbox and PlayStation. You can be a W. Web developer. It's an online occupation. Now take that S. You can be your own big impact on the world. And with that Y, you can be your own boss. Tell me boy and girl. And with that Z, Z is you strive. You can reach sky if you try. Just don't be a Z. Just don't be a zombie. And let the wind pass you by.
Oh, what a lovely, precious dream. To be young is being black. Open your heart to what I mean.
In the whole world, you know, there's a million boys and girls
Yes, yes indeed. It is I, the Mandingo,